A strict foreign policy is crucial for Denmark and for Europe. It is crucial for our democracies, for our cohesion, and for the security of every citizen. That is why it was very violent and, in my eyes, also for the disturbing images we saw from Ceuta earlier this summer. In my eyes, no one should be able to illegally cross the border to Europe. The Danish government and the Danish authorities have followed the situation extremely closely. And should there be the slightest sign of migrant movement through Europe, we will not hesitate for a second to take all necessary steps. This can be by expanding the border control we already have today, ultimately closing the border completely so that the police control everyone who enters Denmark. The police have preparation plans for this, and according to the judiciary, this can happen within a few hours. Illegal migration is a serious and very concrete threat to Europe. The current asylum system does not work. It is unbearable, it is inhuman, and it is devastating for Europe. There is a fundamental need for another access, so we are removing the incentives that only benefit cynical human beings. Also, when it comes to the question of the legalization of illegal migrants who are already in Europe, because we are against it. We are against it. It is no secret that I and the Spanish government are deeply dissatisfied with foreign policy. We are on a national level, and we are on a European level. The Spanish government can make its own national decisions, just as Denmark and Jutland can do it. But we will not accept that the Danish society must pay the price for decisions in Spain, which we fundamentally disagree with. And watch out, Europe and Denmark are not just about how to act with a current crisis like the one we saw in Spain. It is something you have to do every day, when you show people around in the parliament. You have to watch out for uncontrolled immigration in Denmark. You have to watch out for Russia. And you have to watch out for the forces that want to suppress our values and livelihoods, no matter where they come from. When the Russians and Belarus began to use migrants as part of the hybrid war against Poland, we closed the Polish border. And that was with a lot of strong support from myself, directly to the Polish Prime Minister. I was working on that myself. When the Russians threatened to do it against Finland, we gave support to the Finnish government to close the border. When the Russians used migrants against Lithuania, we gave support to that. And the way to think about it, I think, is the right one. Something like what we saw here last summer does not just happen to itself, and not at all the communication that has been on social media. So forces that do not want Europe well are involved in this in one way or another. So the idea that you should be able to close the border, we are attached to that. We have that emergency brake in Denmark. Europe should also have that emergency brake. So the answer is yes. But you cannot pull the solidarity card all the way to the point that when a government in Europe goes against almost everyone else. Almost all European governments spend all our time and effort to ensure that people do not enter Europe. And we cannot get along with those who do not behave properly. If there is such a government, regardless of the concrete situation, but in relation to legalizing illegal immigration, which goes against, then we will have to go up against it, because it is to go against what many of us believe is decisive for Europe. If we talk about undemocratic forces, then Russia is our biggest enemy. The problem is that a big enemy has begun to grow up within, and it is foreigners who have come to Europe. It is Hamas supporters. It is people who commit terrorism against European society. It is people who do not recognize our fundamental European values. It is people who sympathize with some of the darkest forces in this world. So Europe is threatened. The problem is that we are both threatened from the outside and now from the inside. But not because of the disagreement between the Danish and Spanish governments, but because of people with an Islamic background who do not want an open, free European society.